Have you ever noticed that the moments designed to make you happiest often leave you feeling strangely empty? Think about it. You pick up your phone first thing in the morning without even knowing why, scrolling through videos and images that barely register in your mind. You reach for a snack, not because you're hungry, but because you're trying to fill a gap you can't quite name. Afterward, there's that subtle pang of guilt, a quiet whisper asking, "Why did I even do that?" Pleasure feels like the reward, but what if it's quietly stealing something far more valuable from you? Most of what you call pleasure isn't joy. It's just a clever disguise for avoiding yourself. Every laugh, every bite, every notification seems harmless enough, yet deep down, you sense they're merely distractions. Carl Jung believed we each carry a hidden shadow, parts of ourselves filled with emotions and fears we'd rather not face. We bury them beneath these daily distractions, hoping they'll quietly disappear. But ask yourself this honestly. Could pleasure be your favorite distraction from confronting the shadow within you? Imagine pleasure as a comforting noise you've grown used to, loud enough to drown out the truth you avoid hearing in silence. Maybe that's why even your happiest moments leave you feeling strangely hollow. Because what you're truly craving isn't more pleasure, but an honest encounter with yourself. Isn't it time to listen to what's beneath the distractions? Pleasure is often mistaken as joy, as the simple reward we grant ourselves after hard work or a tough day. But if you look closely, you'll notice it rarely brings true fulfillment. Instead, it's something deeper, a subtle distraction, a quiet escape. Pleasure becomes the unconscious shield we use to protect ourselves from confronting deeper, often painful truths. Consider your daily routine. You scroll endlessly through your phone, liking and watching things you barely register. You reach for food, not because you're hungry, but simply because you're restless or anxious. You binge watch shows long into the night, knowing tomorrow you'll wake up tired and dissatisfied. These habits feel harmless at first glance, even comforting. But beneath their surface lies a hidden pattern. You're running from something inside yourself, something you've buried far beneath consciousness. Carl Jung called this buried part of us the shadow, the aspects of ourselves we choose not to acknowledge, the fear, loneliness, insecurity, sadness, every mindless scroll, every bite taken without hunger, every distraction becomes like a shovel, quietly and consistently pushing those uncomfortable emotions deeper underground. Yet ask yourself this honestly. You constantly seek pleasure, but is anyone truly satisfied inside? To understand why you do this, we need to look back further, tracing the roots deep into your childhood. Pleasure, as a coping mechanism, often begins very early. Remember when you were small, perhaps crying over a lost toy or a scraped knee? Rather than comfort or validation, adults handed you candy, turned on a cartoon, or distracted you with a toy. At that moment, you didn't realize it, but something profound was taught. You learned that unpleasant emotions were unacceptable, something to be silenced rather than felt. Pleasure became your safest distraction, the quickest path to feeling loved and accepted. Alfred Adler emphasized that the deepest human desire is belonging, and at that vulnerable age, you began associating pleasure with acceptance. But ask yourself gently now, who would you be today if you had been comforted, not distracted whenever you felt pain as a child? Would you still chase external pleasures as relentlessly, or would you know instinctively how to comfort yourself? Would you still equate your value with constant approval, or would you have discovered a more authentic way to connect and belong? Over the years, this pleasure-seeking behavior quietly forms what Jung called the persona, the social mask we wear to present ourselves acceptably to the world. The more you pursue superficial pleasures to maintain this mask, the further you drift from your authentic self. You begin to recognize the signs, always smiling outwardly but privately exhausted, laughing at jokes you don't truly find funny, agreeing with things you don't genuinely believe in, and presenting an upbeat facade even when your soul feels drained. Pleasure, intended to help you feel better, quietly becomes the very thing that prevents you from feeling genuinely alive. Consider Sarah's story, for instance. Sarah finally received the big promotion she'd worked toward for years. On the surface, everything seemed perfect. Friends celebrated her success, champagne glasses clinked, and congratulations poured in. Yet, later that evening, alone in her quiet apartment, she felt strangely empty. Unconsciously, she reached for chocolate, mindlessly scrolled her phone, and sought anything to fill the void inside. Then a memory surfaced. As a child, whenever Sarah cried, her parents offered sweets or distractions rather than true comfort. Pleasure was Sarah's learned response to emotional discomfort, but now she finally understood why even joyful moments felt hollow. Because pleasure had never healed her. It only hid her true feelings deeper, leaving her increasingly disconnected from herself. Pleasure, in this way, functions like an attractive smiling mask, one you unknowingly put on every day. It allows you to blend in, to be accepted, to feel safe. Yet, beneath that mask lies a neglected truth. Your authentic self quietly longing to be seen, to be heard, and to exist freely. Jung spoke of individuation, the courageous journey toward removing this mask and rediscovering your true face beneath. This journey demands honesty, confronting the uncomfortable feelings you've avoided for so long. Now ask yourself clearly and gently, when was the last time you felt truly yourself, free from expectation and performance? When did you last experience genuine joy without needing to perform happiness for others? But there's something even subtler, even more troubling beneath this dynamic. Pleasure isn't merely a distraction, it's quietly manipulative. Over time, pleasure silently teaches you to seek constant approval from others, strengthening what Jung identified as an acceptance complex, an unconscious drive for external validation. You learn that pleasure makes you appear agreeable, approachable, likable, but at the hidden cost of emotional authenticity. You say yes when you want to say no, smile when you'd rather cry, laugh when you're deeply sad. The subtle message is clear. I am valuable only when others approve of me. Think about your phone for a moment. You're like a phone screen that's always on, always ready to respond, serving notifications and expectations until your own internal battery completely drains. People grow accustomed to your constant availability, your easygoing smile, your endless patience. But what happens when your battery runs out? What happens when you finally acknowledge that this constant pursuit of approval through pleasure is quietly and steadily draining your life energy? Here's the most crucial question you need to ask yourself right now. Could the kindness you're proud of secretly enable the emotional manipulation you fear most? Could your constant giving, your endless efforts to please others, be unintentionally reinforcing a dynamic where your needs remain invisible, unheard, unmet? Perhaps today is the day you finally pause. Maybe for the first time you put down the distractions, the endless scrolling, the habitual comforts, and simply listen. Maybe you'll finally hear what your inner self has patiently been whispering all along. That true joy doesn't come from external pleasures. It comes from the courage to acknowledge and embrace everything you're feeling deep within. Because once you recognize pleasure as a distraction, as a subtle form of avoidance and self-manipulation, it begins to lose its hypnotic power. You become free to choose genuine connection over temporary comfort, presence over escape, authenticity over approval. This quiet realization marks the first step on a profound journey home, to the person you've always been beneath the distractions, beneath the mask, waiting patiently for your return. Here's the hard truth you've probably sensed for a long time, but might have been unwilling to admit clearly to yourself, your pain isn't caused by lack of pleasure. It's caused by your consistent absence from your own life. All this time, you've believed you needed more pleasure, more entertainment, more distraction, another Netflix series, another snack, another social media binge. But deep down, that ache inside you has never faded. It remains because you're not lacking pleasure. You're lacking genuine presence with yourself. Imagine your life as a house. On the outside, there's a lively party happening. Music, laughter, colorful lights, endless noise. This party represents every pleasure you've chased. Those endless distractions designed to keep you from stepping inside. But inside this house, in a quiet, shadowy corner, sits a child, your inner child, patiently waiting. This child holds your unmet emotional needs, your hidden fears, your suppressed feelings. You've been outside celebrating, dancing, smiling, yet you've never fully stepped inside to meet the person who needs your attention the most. How long has that child been waiting, unheard and unseen? Each distraction, each fleeting pleasure, each moment of superficial joy has quietly deepened this neglect. You've become a stranger to yourself, unaware that your constant pursuit of pleasure has been slowly distancing you from your truth. And this distance hurts far more deeply than you realize. It isn't boredom or discomfort you're running from. It's the raw honesty of facing yourself fully. Pleasure hasn't healed you. It's numbed you. Pleasure hasn't connected you. It's quietly isolated you from who you genuinely are. Pause for just one moment and ask yourself this question clearly. How long can you continue living comfortably, numb, carefully avoiding your inner truth? The life you've built on distraction may feel easy, comfortable, even familiar. But at what cost? When the music stops and the distractions fade, can you honestly say you're at peace? Or do you still find yourself restless, unsettled, quietly anxious for the next moment of pleasure to distract you once more? Real fulfillment doesn't come from adding more distraction. It comes from taking away everything preventing you from meeting yourself. Carl Jung spoke about the necessity of encountering our inner shadow, the hidden parts we often deny or ignore. These hidden parts aren't your enemies. They're the neglected pieces of you, patiently waiting to be embraced and acknowledged. You don't heal by covering these wounds with pleasure. You heal by facing them openly, courageously, honestly. So, consider this carefully. Could it be that the emptiness you've been feeling is simply the quiet voice of your inner self asking for your attention? Could it be that every restless night, every meaningless distraction, every temporary thrill has only been your subtle avoidance strategy? Now comes the critical moment, a moment that requires genuine courage and radical honesty. You must choose. Will you stay comfortable in your well-practiced avoidance, in your endless pursuit of shallow pleasures, quietly hoping that emptiness will someday vanish on its own? Or will you finally step into the discomfort, the raw, vulnerable, yet incredibly freeing experience of facing yourself? Stepping inside your metaphorical house to meet your inner child isn't easy. It feels uncomfortable, vulnerable, uncertain. But within that discomfort lies something powerful, an opportunity for genuine connection with your authentic self. You don't have to carry that heavy mask any longer. You don't have to keep distracting yourself from what you truly feel. Instead, you can gently enter that quiet space within you and finally ask that child, "What have you been trying to tell me?" Think about this clearly now. How different could your life feel if, instead of running from discomfort, you finally embraced it? How much deeper could your relationships become if you showed up authentically rather than hiding behind an endless stream of superficial pleasures? How much richer and more meaningful could your days feel if you finally learned to stand fully present with yourself, your fears, your joys, your sadness, your truths? Because the reality is that pleasure isn't inherently wrong or bad. Pleasure can be beautiful, joyous, meaningful, but only if it's consciously chosen, not compulsively pursued. Genuine joy isn't loud and fleeting. It's quiet, steady, peaceful. Genuine joy doesn't numb you. It awakens you. Genuine joy doesn't distance you from yourself. It brings you closer to your inner truth. So, right now, in this quiet moment of reflection, the choice is completely yours. Will you continue to dance outside your house, avoiding the quiet truths hidden within? Or will you finally stop running, take a deep breath, and walk inside to meet the inner child who's patiently waited your entire life for your attention? The question is direct and unavoidable, yet filled with quiet hope. Will you stay comfortable in your well-practiced avoidance, or will you finally step into the discomfort of facing yourself? Only you can answer this, and the answer you choose today will determine whether you remain trapped in shallow pleasures or finally find freedom in genuine self-connection. The choice and its consequences are yours alone. You don't have to rush into anything right now. All I'm inviting you to do is gently pause, just for a moment, and listen closely. Listen beyond the noise of pleasure, beyond your habits and familiar distractions. What quiet truth within you has long been waiting for your attention? Could it be that the answers you're seeking aren't found in another moment of fleeting comfort, but are softly waiting in your most honest and silent spaces? Maybe after chasing endless pleasures and distractions, you've started to sense something deeper calling out, something you've avoided, yet something essential. Ask yourself honestly, what have I been truly running from all this time? What emotion, memory, or truth feels easier to hide behind comfort and distraction than to face openly? Imagine your life as a room you've carefully filled with music, laughter, and endless entertainment to drown out silence. But today, just for a moment, turn the music off. Let silence fill the space. Initially, this silence might feel uncomfortable, unfamiliar, but if you remain there gently and courageously, what might you finally hear? Maybe your own voice, softly asking for understanding, acceptance, compassion, perhaps simply your own attention. Every meaningful transformation begins with one quiet moment of honesty. So let this be yours. There's no pressure to immediately change or become someone else. Just acknowledge gently what you feel right now. Trust that simply noticing these deeper feelings is already the first powerful step toward healing. Because true peace isn't discovered in constant distraction. It comes from finally, bravely turning inward and meeting yourself without judgment or fear. If something in this video touched a place inside you today, I'd genuinely love to hear about it. What realization or emotion surfaced most clearly? Which part resonated deeply with your personal experience? Your voice, your insight, your reflections, they matter profoundly, not just for you, but for others on a similar quiet journey toward self-discovery and authenticity. And if you'd like to continue exploring this gentle path together, know that I'll be right here, ready whenever you are. Remember, you're not alone in this process. Your willingness to share and explore honestly matters more deeply than you might realize. The next step, whether it's big or small, loud or quiet, is entirely yours. Are you ready to take it?